of our grand finals. Spawning in the bottom left, our blue Terran player for Jin Air Green Wings. This is Maru.
조선조 화이팅!
And in the top right side, the red Terran player fighting for the dragon, the Phoenix, the gamers. He is, of course, Cure, the slayer of titans in this tournament.
김도호 화이팅!
Well, already, Kozan, we're seeing what we kind of discussed here. Maru getting out on the map already with that cheeky little proxy, but it's only going to be 2 barracks. Not going to be a huge commit, but I still think this could potentially catch his opponent way off guard.
Yeah, it could definitely be the case. We're going to have to keep our eye out open if Cure does or does not get himself that second guess, right? Will he try to go for a factory here before the command center? Things could get a little bit dicey if he doesn't secure himself that possibility. And you know what? It's looking like he may decide to skip it here for the time being. So things could get dangerous. He is coming across the field with an SCV scout, but you won't be able to see the barracks. Overall, looks like though small map, so this SCV should arrive momentarily. Shouldn't take too long. It's gonna see that something is off because there's nothing in Maru's base, of course. But is he gonna respond appropriately? Is he gonna get those bunkers down in time? That's the real question right now.
Well, it's not only just if he'll get them down in time, if he's going to put them in the right spot, because Maru's got a couple of different advantages that he can try and play into. I think he can wrap around into that natural and still hop up on the top side. Well, nope, actually that is kind of zoned out, so it's only at that ramp location. So I think you're absolutely right. Now it comes down to that timing. Can those bunkers get into place? Can he defend? And now Cure knows that this is a problem. How is he going to be able to respond appropriately? And it looks like right now getting bunkers into both of those locations, top and bottom. The SCV at the top will not be able to provide any more high ground vision at this point, and suddenly Maru's in a bit of an awkward position where he's already lost to 2 of his workers. A couple of these Reapers are not going to find the damage that they're looking for, but they're just trying to kill as much time as they possibly can.
Yeah, Cure here trying to get those Marines out. They produce a little bit quicker, a little bit cheaper on the gas as well, and now he's going to just be able to fill up those bunkers here. Let's see if he will be able to maintain control. So far, so good, right? He had to pull a couple of those SCVs, but that's all manageable. That is not too bad. The barracks here for Maru flying in, kind of indicating perhaps the end of the overall Reaper aggression. And Maru will try to transition into something else here if he doesn't just try to commit anyway with these Reapers. But I don't think he will. As long as those bunkers still stand, there's not much hope to actually come in here and get a lot of damage on this supply depot, though. Under a bit it's a bit on fire at the moment, but will get repaired in time. So nice play there from Cure, getting everything sorted out here and setting up in a nice way here for the later parts of this game to come.
Oh, and I love already seeing the vast difference in the micro capabilities of our blue Terran. We can see him pulling those Reapers back as quickly as possible. Look at the nice little spread here. We're starting to see 2 players that will really be able to give us their all, as that server lag, not an issue. Cross-server choices, not an issue. Now these 2 players can really cut loose and show us everything they're made of.
Oh, even chasing down all these Reapers right now. The nades are trying their best to keep them at a distance. Nice bouncy house Hellions right there. Kind of fun thing to see in the finals right here. But yeah, Maru on the back foot now, right? He delayed a lot of his tech. He delayed his command center as well. I suppose he is still early ahead overall on his command center here, so that is working out for him. But ultimately, looking at those supplies, they are looking rather fantastic for Cure. And he may find himself in a position where he will start to look across the fields with that army advantage in particular.
So Maru's essentially been shut down here, and the supply cap is already starting to showcase just how much Maru had to invest to get that to happen. 54 to 38, Maru's laying low on the army count, and unfortunately not able to keep up in that worker count as well, although he is keeping it rather close. Now he comes across the map with a couple of cyclones, and that's going to stop Cure from just shoving across the map to try and really ruin Maru's day. But Cure right now should feel as if he's in a good position. He's getting that third base. Admittedly, Maru is as well. But he's up on workers. He's up on army. He's in a great spot to begin this game.
Yeah, both of these players going for the third base also, right? So looking to go towards the macro game. It does get scouted by Maru. It's a little bit lackluster perhaps for the scouting for Q. He has been continuously just kind of stuck in his own base. Now, it's not entirely immediately the worst case, right? I mean, still, it's always preferable to be able to know what your opponent is doing. And Kyo's still a little bit in the dark. Will finally send a Reaper across the field here, try to figure out what the follow-up for Maru is. But at the same time, I mean, looking at the army supply, not that far apart anymore. Perhaps a window of opportunity here that did get closed up before he actually discovered that it potentially was there for a moment.
Well, it seems as if Cure is trying to get more and more of that scouting information to see what's happening. But look at how quickly Maru has closed the gap here. Those army counts are almost identical now, and the worker counts are as well. So now, where is Cure trying to go with this? I mean, he's grabbing that stim back. He'll have that advantage over his opponent in Maru, but Maru has wrestled back so much of the economic advantage here. So far, Cure has been able to be relatively resourceful with what he's got in his defense, but he's allowing Maru to get back into this game, and I'll give credit where credit is due. A lot of people making the mention that if Maru is slightly behind, well, I mean, that's almost even, and he's kind of showcasing that a little bit right now as Maru pushing across the map to try and deny a third base.
Yeah, for sure. He already has his third in the correct location here. Maru doing some good scouting, realizing that it's only now flying across the siege tanks for Cure. They are very strong, unless if they are, of course, interference matrix. And actually, the siege tank count for Maru here not too shabby either. And oh dear Lord, Cure gets really back into his natural base right now, and that command center has to fly back across Maru. He went from a position where he was behind to suddenly equaled out, and now he's ahead, just like that. This is what Maru does, it seems.
And he feels really comfortable. He's just going to go right back home. He doesn't need to overstay his welcome. Doesn't want to allow Cure the opportunity to wrap around and surprise the army. So just going to head back home, siege up at that third base location. But Maru needs to start coming up with a way to get back into the upgrade count, because right now he doesn't seem to have a necessary response. I think I saw 1-1 on the way. Yeah, there we go. We have 1-1. Stim pack should be incoming as well. But Cure's going to try and stay on top of the upgrade count as it sits right now, getting that combat shield and starting to move into a position where he can start pressuring. But it more than likely going to try and wait for those upgrades to line up as well.
Yeah, I mean, he is already across the field here. He may be able to find some success with those Marines, right? It's a small investment. He should be able to get out of there as well still. Viking count and such, not that fantastic for Maru at the moment. He did have those Ravens, though. I'm not completely certain on the unit count exactly that can interfere with the Marines trying to run in here, but it's looking dicey right there. Is that combat shield? Is indeed just kind of waiting for now.
Yeah, it's going to give him a lot more stability against these tanks and against the Marines of Maru, but right now does not have a good engagement path. Maru's got pretty good tank coverage right here. This is not going to be advantageous for him. Yeah, Cure's going to immediately have to back up and say, whoa, I can't try and push into that, especially since Maru's going to swing up, trying to zone out the rest of that army with his own. And now Cure has to figure out what he wants to try and do here. It looks like he's going to run more of those Marines to make a larger army, especially since Maru is continuing to try and push out onto the map. I don't feel like either player is really in a position to really try and make some big plays, but 2-2 on the way. That combat shield is still in production, and Maru waiting just a little bit to get that 2-2 started.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure if he has his armory. I didn't pay full attention to it, so that may be a reason why he is delaying it a little bit here. But you know what? right, well, we do have a nice engagement here, actually. The anti-armor missile hitting quite heavily. Maru losing a lot of his Marines right now. At the end of the world, though, of course, that siege tank line is still standing strong. Will be able to facilitate the defense that he needs to. And Maru, interestingly enough, going for the Liberators here. After calling out that Liberator composition, not all that fantastic. He won't make too many of them, probably, but still an interesting thing to see.
I mean, we're starting to boil up a 20-30 minute game here, Kozan. I think both of these players are going to continue to do normal TvT affair, posturing, getting around, rotating, getting those tanks in, all sorts of things that we come to know and love about our TvT. As both of these players are starting to climb up to their supply cap now, Cure getting into the same situation that he was playing in his series against TY, playing down on the worker count that allows him that larger army composition, but that means he needs to now trade more efficiently against his opponent, who's going to have a better economy and can continue to remake. But look at that, 77 Marines to 37. If Cure can find the right way to engage, he's going to have way more army to overwhelm Maru.
Yeah, but I mean, overwhelming Maru, that's a tough thing to do, honestly. He's still looking good on the siege tank count, right? And that is what can really nip the Marine counts behind here and make up for that difference in a way. He's not too far behind on the upgrades either, so you know what, overall, I mean, like you said, it looks like we're just in it for the long haul right now. Both players trying to get more bases. Cure being the aggressor here, so he has that advantage going for him. He is the one that kind of decides where and how they fight, but as I say that, of course, Maru just kind of runs straight ahead. We'll be able to get those interference matrices and shuts this flank on the right side down, but of course, Cure still has a force on the left side. Will be able to stop the mining here from this base, forces a cancel on the other command center, and gets this other orbital to fly away.
It's good damage for Cure, but unfortunately Maru is going to come out the victor, at least right now. He does force the lift off on one of the bases, which is good. That's going to help equalize the economic disadvantage that Cure was playing into because he has less workers. But now he has to find a way to get on top of this army, lest Maru just shoves across the map and really forces the issue with Cure. And right now, those Ravens, once again, playing a huge role into maintaining the army advantage, maybe not even just in the army count, even though right now 88 to 82, he does have that, but he's way more effective with the army that he has because he could utilize the Raven energy. He has so many of those spells at his disposal. He'll be able to rebuild that base. That won't be that big of an issue, but look at that 2x2 on that Raven count. Maru knows where the strength in this army is going to lie, and he's going to try and use it to its full advantage against Cure.
Yeah. That's a good point to make. Of course, both these players were the ones that prefer the Raven style play. So we may even be able to see Raven versus Raven here if this keeps going. And Cure will have to start setting up the late game army composition. Also, looks like Maru a bit quicker on the trigger there, being able to start mixing in these Ravens. But this is what we saw similarly from Cure as well versus TY, right? He did. He did transition a little bit slower than we were seeing from Maru overall into those Ravens. And now there are those starports coming down, 3 of them in total. That's going to be hopefully making up for the a little bit starting it slower, the Raven production overall.
Well, Cure needs to kind of dial up the pressure here. Maru's going to get into a better position with his Ravens. That Corvid reactor now finishing up. These Ravens are going to have a lot more energy at their disposal as they start coming out 2x2 for Maru. And those anti-armor missiles on top of all of these units will be effective when they do finally land. So Maru able to get sieged up here, some good positioning. This is, a great scan gonna go down. Cure trying to jump on top of these tanks, but Maru says, no sir, I know where you are at all times. More tank positioning going to be coming up here on the left-hand side, and they shred through all of these bio units of Cure. Maru making the most of that anti-armor missile and continuing to flex that Raven power.
Yeah, that was a funny situation. On top of that high ground, It was like was the kid caught with his hand in the cookie jar right there, thinking to himself, "Oh, those 3 siege tanks, they don't see me right now. Maybe I can just get on top of this siege up and try to get them." Ultimately, the scan immediately hitting right there because of the sensor tower, of course. Maru's still paying attention. And yeah, Kjør continues onwards with the attempted double-pronged aggression right now. 2 siege tanks with a nice wall off right there. Don't see that all too often, but it helps out quite a bit here, so Marines don't just manage to stim right on top of it. Also, I suppose you can't quite get auto turrets out as easily on top of those siege tanks right now because of this.
Okay, that Corvid reactor upgrade coming in for Kjør as well. So we are going to see Ravens against Ravens, and immediately Ravens do get picked off. They're not going to serve much purpose for Maru if they just die to Marines. And now Maru is going to be in a bit of a tough spot here. The rocks have come down, which means Kjør's going to be able to shove on forward here. Good tank positioning, though, will push this back just enough here before it starts to get sieged up into a disadvantageous location. But Kjør needs to be careful here. All of these interference matrices going down. They're going to get picked off one by one by these Raven auto turrets, and Maru making the most of this energy. These players just trading jabs back and forth.
Yeah, that was a fantastic trade right there. 20 siege tanks versus 4 going down here in total. Kjør, I mean, he is the one that's trying to be aggressive, trying to find the holes, but ultimately Maru, it looks like he is the one that continuously manages to jump on top of the army of Kjør and shuts it down so incredibly efficiently. And this is the scary part. Once again, Maru, of course, we've seen him play against Innovation as well, and he, oh my dear lord, it was a terrifying match to watch. Overall, he was looking so dominant, and I'm getting a little bit of a flashback right now as we're seeing continuously Maru being able to jump on top of those siege tanks from Kjør and shut it down very, very efficiently. All right, here we go again. Some interference matrices actually kind of not going for all of them. Okay, this is the moment. Kjør needs to make this work. All those Marines are coming in from a lot of the angles, but it's not quite enough for on the air for Kjør here. The siege tanks for Maru still stand tall, and we'll be able to take out again a massive chunk, and GG is called. Maru takes the first game.
Oh, the tank spread for Maru is just really, really strong in this series, and we are going to have to figure that out, and how he is able to split so much. He's constantly getting himself into a good position. He's constantly putting himself in a place where he can make those good plays. And those Ravens, he just gets so much value out of them. And being able to maneuver all 3 components, getting your Marines going forward, using the tanks to zone the ground, and the Vikings and the Ravens to zone the air, all of it is just in a great position. So he's making it look easy, but that is by no means an easy task.
Yeah, that was quite a train wreck in a sense, right? Every time Kjør was trying to move out, Maru just was like, "All right, well, I guess thank you for donating your army for my championship. This is great stuff right here." Gets those Ravens to be utilized to the fullest of their capabilities and shuts it down with what seems to be relative ease. Kjør, you have to wonder what's going through his head right now, trying so much aggression, so many pods and prodding and continuously poking in, ultimately not quite being able to get everything going into his favor.
All right, Kozan, I'm going to take an opportunity here. I'm going to hijack this train. Folks, I hope you are all enjoying this outstanding finals. I want you to all do me a favor and look at that follow button. If it has not been pressed yet, slam it for me. Alpha X has been working their tails off over the last 2.5 weeks to put together this event. We are so thrilled to be able to provide such content for all of you, and we want you to come back if it's at all humanly possible. So please do consider hitting that follow button. We love bringing forward StarCraft 2 content of all shapes, sizes, and varieties, and we hope that you enjoy it too and want to come back for more. So thank you so much for considering that. We're going to be getting into game number 2 here on Death Aura. Can Kjør get back into this? He's shown that he can. He shows that he can play from behind here, Kozan.
Yeah, it was eerily similar to the game between him and TY on, I believe it was also on Oxide, or was it Pillars of Gold? I think it was Pillars of Gold, actually. They have a little bit of a similar color style, but overall. Anyway. There's a distinct difference, of course. Anyway, in the bottom right side, here he is, the blue Terran fighting with the Jin Green Wings and Team Anime. He is Maru.
Anime! Spawning in the top left for Dragon Phoenix Gaming, our red Terran. This is Cure. Oh man, we should have asked Hajin about that, if she knows anything regarding the Koreans playing on Team Envy. I mean, she's hearing it about right now, so maybe that's something that if she knows or can get information on, because I'd love to know. We've heard so much about how that just seems to be kind of the running, I hate to call it joke because that makes it sound bad, but it's just like one of the jokes of the Korean scene right now. Like, we're all just going to have the anime logo from Team Envy.
Yeah, it's an interesting one, right? There's so many players indeed just kind of hanging out. It must be something to do with just the clusters of Korean players that like to practice with one another, right? That's kind of what I'm anticipating here. But I could be completely wrong because I don't have much insight into that entire situation. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe it's just, team anime versus team non-anime. That's, people that do like it, people that don't like. I have no idea. Or maybe it has nothing to do with that either. Anyway. Anyway, these two players, once again, we're seeing a bit of a difference right now. Maru going for the double gas here. Kyo, again, going for the single gas opening. This time around, no proxies, though, from the blue cheeky Terran.
Oh, I don't think we're going to see little fight club happening out at the natural there. But fortunately, Cure's going to bring a friend, and that's breaking the rules, but we'll be able to level that out. I don't imagine that we're going to see proxies out of Maru unless he starts to fall behind in this series. That just doesn't seem... It doesn't seem like his MO is, especially against a player that he plays against a lot. I think he has a lot of very internal respect for him. And I feel like we only see those proxies come out really early when Maru feels like he has a significant advantage over his opponent.
Yeah, to be fair, though, I mean, a lot of the champions, sometimes they have to utilize that type of thinking, right? Where you don't expect it to be coming out. Where you're like, all right, well, I could bank it on this, but it's really dangerous in this situation, and your opponent doesn't really anticipate it either, and that could give you that just slight advantage that you need, right? Suddenly, this is what we see from a lot of these pros. So, well, it's a long time ago, but MVP, everybody remembers this. If you've watched it back in the day, suddenly going for like on the ace match, where it's in the finals and he goes for the proxy. He's like, you know what? Let's just do it. Let's just try it and see what happens.
You mark my words, Kozan. If this if this series goes to a game 7, I think it's gonna get pulled out. I think it, and I'll even double down. I think it'll be a double.
Both of them.
I think both of them will do it. That's it. You mark my words right now, Twitch chat, and feel free. I hope I'm wrong. But if we get to that point, I think we're going to get to that. I think that's what we will see. And wouldn't that just be the most exciting way to cap off this entire tournament?
When it's 6 a.m. for them both, and they're like, all right, well, I guess we could do another macro game, or, you know what, we could just do this instead. They probably would have told each other at that moment in time, being like, all right, you know what we should do, actually? Just make it a micro battle, shall we? Let's see who has the better micro. Let's both put our barracks in the middle of the map, and we'll see who manages to eke it out, all right?
Bring all your SCVs, circle them around, and then we'll just all chant, fight, fight, fight,
Exactly.
Fight.
As long as Maru avoids the nuclear missiles, he should be good. He should be good.
That's fair. That's fair. All right, so actuality is happening right now rather than speculations here at the 4-minute mark. We have just both players kind of playing rather defensive. I mean, both players just kind of hold up at their respective homes. Maru with that really nice wall of units and the Widow Mine set and ready to go. But Cure's not really moving out onto the map either. So I think both players just trying to wind up to get into a mid or late game portion of this series, because we see 2 CCs going down. So both players trying to get their third bases out.
Yeah, once again, looking for that macro game, right? And you know what? That's a cool thing to see. Neither of these players just kind of at this moment in time, banking it on a big attack off of the 2 base. And so far, I mean, I'm trying to think back on it. We've seen quite a couple of TvTs. Only Clem really has been able to make it work off of the 2 base in a sense, right? Getting aggressive off of the 2 base, and that's when Maru really wasn't expecting that to happen because of the ping difference, and where micro might become a little bit difficult. That's no longer an issue here. They are playing on the same server, and yeah, I've not been able to see it happen or go into the favor of the aggressor, right? I'm thinking back on the matches with TY. He tried it a couple of times, going off of the 2 base, skipping his 3rd base, and Cure's been able to quite handedly just slap it down.
I don't think there's going to be a lot of well, not slapping down right now. I think there's going to be a lot of slapping as these trade blows going into the middle portion of this game. Cure's starting to position himself out to that 3rd base. He's got a Marine on patrol in his what could be a 3rd base. And I don't know if he's just nervous for the incoming Banshee or if he's nervous for a medevac drop, but he is very, very diligent about keeping a scout up in that location. So more than anything, Maru's got him thinking, he's got him worried, and I love the map presence that Cure has now. Putting a Marine at all 3 of those run paths. Cure going to try to get a little bit of damage done with this Banshee, but unfortunately there's enough turret coverage to be able to shut this down, and it'll actually get jumped on by the Ravens and the Vikings. So good catch by Maru.
Lovely stuff right there. Maru shutting that down so quickly. I mean, it's cool to see those missile turrets going up in the first place, right? Very often you see Terrans kind of skipping this, trying to eke out an economic advantage, trying to get themselves further ahead. Just by skipping these tiny things, but at the same time, I mean, you open yourself up for so much damage. Is it really worth skipping those missile turrets? And I believe even Cure right here also, you know what, investing into this type of defense, right? Setting up spotter supply depots and all of this stuff. So incredibly important, especially in these types of series where you just don't want to bank it on the potential doom drop just suddenly coming in from a weird angle. Or a Banshee, or a medevac with Hellions, right? We've seen this with Cure versus TY.
What about all 3, Kozan? At that
what
point,
about all 3?
Just let it go. Nah, I'll just GG out. It'll be fine. No big deal. Cure's actually in a good position here. 66 to 57. He now is going to start to feel comfortable pushing out. Both players have their 3rd bases secured. Cure, on the other hand, already working on his 4th base on site, so he will have a slight timing advantage over Maru in this case, but yeah, both of these players playing so cautiously, not letting anything slip by. Maru has all of this going forward and immediately going to spot that with the medevacs. Oh my gosh, I love how just carefully all of this is being played out.
Yeah, and these upgrades also, right? I mean, look at how close they are together. Maru, I hope he will still add that armor as well. Maybe he just didn't have the gas for it. We're still seeing him lacking the gas at this moment in time. Let's hope he doesn't forget about it, as he's already doing some other stuff right now. But because that would be a horrendous way to lose this, you know, just because of the upgrade difference. But yeah, it is very, very close together. Should be seeing that armor coming up right now. He'll get around to it, right? It's Maru. Let's not doubt him here.
Yeah, I mean, he's got to be tactical about something, and at this point, it might as well be tactical about getting that upgrade into position. But right now, chasing this army out onto the center of the map, oh man, I just keep watching it, just waiting for it to pop up here. But Maru not pulling the trigger on that +2 armor for infantry, and we'll have to keep an eye on that and see if that ever comes to fruition, or if it's just something that slipped off of his radar here, because he absolutely has the resources to get that done. But it seems like Maru is trying, more importantly, to zone out all of these units on the map and keep Cure from being aggressive.
The +2 attack is the more important one. It could be a sign that Maru is trying to get some sort of aggression going across the field, and he's just wanting to invest more so in siege tanks and ravens. But at the same time, like, he's still making more bases. He's still increasing his production capability. So those are 2 different things kind of that he's doing right now. Okay, attempting a bit of a big drop right here as well. Sends one medevac in just to try and divert attention. These 3 medevacs in quite a bit of trouble, actually. Those Vikings will not just let them go. Marines stimming forwards. Okay, do they manage to reach the safety of the dead space right now? More Marines are being sacrificed, and a lot of them do go down. A great catch, though, by Cure.
Yeah, Cure needs to get more and more of those good engagements and jumping on top of the army of Maru, because that's what it seems like it's going to take. He's going to do a big stim forward here. Some good interference matrices going down on those tanks, giving him a little bit of positioning on this ramp, but again, having to fight up the ramp, only going to have high ground vision as long as that scan is available. And now suddenly this is a bit of a scary position for Maru to try and play from. Maru's not been able to trade out as effectively as he wanted to. His army count has dipped significantly, and Cure's in a position where he's got plenty of bio to try and leap forward, but instead not going to overstay, happy with the exchange that he's gotten. 4 worker kills so far, and he's just going to back.
Yeah, it's just a really tough position now to break here. I'm wondering how far he's going to be moving backwards, or if he's just swinging around, right, hinging on that door and coming in from the other side. Single widow mine here. That's kind of funny to see. Them. Oh, that's a war cyclone. Sacrificial lamb. All right, looks like Maru, of course, immediately responding to this in kind, and Cure, yeah. Once again, starting to be the one that's aggressive out on the map, right? And he needs to be a bit more careful with his forces. He can't afford to take bad trades, as we were seeing the previous game. That kind of got to cost him. He was taking too many trades inefficiently, and it just wasn't working out. The upgrade, by the way, for the armor finally finishing up here for Maru. It's been a while. It looks like it won't be game-ending here. He could start his +3/+3 at any moment in time right now. There we go. Okay. May just be a choice, right? Because he's not doing it again here once more. Okay, is a fight coming up. The Marines stimming forwards for Cure. It's only a couple of sea tanks on the left side, so that base right there could be in a bit of trouble as Cure does shut off a way of reinforcing that base. It's a planetary fortress, though, so he needs to bring some of those siege tanks around as well.
Well, and we're getting that positioning battle once again, and Cure is actually on the positive end here, as he is going to try and get on top of this 5th base, and he is going to leap on forward. I don't think Maru has the means of being able to defend here, so a lot of those workers are going to go down. The planetary fortress does get killed as well, and there's nothing that Maru can do to stop this. Those tanks are in a great position. He's not able to leapfrog forward, and look at the tanks on the top side as well. So Maru going to lose 17 workers and a base for the cost of it. Very, very good positioning by Cure, and oh my gosh, he's going to shove on forward.
Okay, well, the siege tanks weren't sieged there for a moment. It doesn't quite have the, I think, the air army to make this work. And to be fair, though, those Ravens for Maru sticking a little bit backwards for now. Does not want to lose them unnecessarily. And is this going to be enough here? The Viking dominance looking pretty darn strong right now. Okay, all the turrets are being thrown down. The interference matrix is also, and he will be able to clean it up once more thanks to that great control of the Ravens. But he did lose quite a couple of them. That base went down. And with that base, even a couple more units overall right there. He sent over there to try and defend. It was a cool maneuver, sending these dropships to try and make sure that base doesn't go down. But ultimately, he just lost more units there, and you can see this now being reflected as well in the units lost tab. Almost 4K difference at the moment.
Yeah, and it's going to be that lead that continues to expound going forward, because right now Cure has a really nice bank that he's working with. Maru does not, so any trades that continue to play out here would potentially go into Cure's favor, especially since Cure's being very, very efficient with these Ravens, showing Maru just how it's done because he's been watching carefully. So both players going to try and trade these Raven shots as effectively as possible. Cure with a much better engagement, though. Those tanks going to reign supreme. The Vikings going to be able to zone out those Ravens, and now suddenly Cure finds himself with an amazing lead here, jumping ahead 194-30.
Yeah, that was a massive engagement right there. Those siege tanks doing so much work from the backside. Maru just not in a position to safeguard this base as Cure is sending everything across right now. Oh no, actually he's gonna just leave some siege tanks in. Those Marines will go to the left side. Very overall a little bit of a brave choice, I suppose, but Oh, okay, no, he's moving back again with those Marines. Will try to protect those siege things. That's the way that, you know what, Maru could try to mount a comeback if he suddenly finds a couple of siege tanks out in the open, unprotected by Marines. That could come to harm Cure quite a bit, but we're moving forwards again in this location right here. Will it work out this time? A little bit better for Cure. Cure getting on top of the high ground, and this base is in a lot of trouble. 2 siege tanks remain. The Vikings again in favor for Cure, and GG is called. Maru taps out. 1-1.
Oh.
We got ourselves a match.
Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. Oh, baby. We have got ourselves a TvT on our hands, and it is just going to continue to compound. But that seems to be Maru's kryptonite, if you will, right now, that he is best served when he is able to control the tempo of the game and put himself in a spot that he can move when he wants to. He can get himself positioned when he wants to. But now we're seeing opponents trying to capitalize on that. And Cure has been able to do that all day. I mean, he's been doing that with a whole mess of opportunities. He's been doing that against Zerg. He's been doing that. He did it against TY just a little bit ago. And I think Cure's going to surprise us. I think he's going to try and jump forward and lock this into place. I'm so excited.
Yeah, he has the potential to do so, right? I mean, Maru, he is a fantastic Terran overall, but Cure has been coming up for a while now. And people, for a long time ago, they've been mentioning Cure. He is looking really sharp. These online cups that were going on, Alpha X was also an organizer for it. Cure, he's taking a lot of those, and he's been able to do so with what seems to be relative ease. Anyway, here we are again on Pillars of Gold. In the top right side, a blue Terran player fighting for the generic Green Wings. He is Maru.
And spawning in the bottom left, our red Terran player played scrappy all the way through this event for Dragon Phoenix Gaming. This is Cure.
Perhaps it's a little bit of a blessing, perhaps, for Cure, the entire situation where a lot of events are happening online right now, right? He's known as the online warrior. Now that Premier Leagues are also happening online, maybe this is a little bit of a sign for him that he can start to make his mark if he takes these big overall tournaments now against these massive names such as Maru, TY, and such that he doesn't always find in those online cups. Maybe that's going to give him the confidence as well to start performing better and better in places such as GSL as well, because people have been telling us continuously, keep an eye out for Cure. He's been getting better and better. I mean, he managed to get into the GSL finals for Pete's sake. You know, that's incredibly impressive on its own. And Maru, well, we all know his accomplishments. Those are very impressive as well. Will he be able to hold on to that overall title, or is Cure gonna give him a run for his money?
Well, and I think that would be this of all moments would be the opportunity for Cure to come away with a first place at a premier event. I was actually a little stunned looking at his Liquipedia page where, I mean, the best he's ever done is second place for the season 1 of GSL this year. And I was a little, and actually he lost to TY. Mm-hmm. And the last time he placed was the summer season finals for DreamHack, where he lost against Cyril. And look who he's beaten. He's beaten Cyril in this tournament. He's beaten TY in this tournament. No, there's absolutely no reason why he couldn't continue to knock off great players like Maru and secure himself the win. He would absolutely deserve it.
I mean, he didn't just beat Cyril and TY either, right? Add Raynor to that list. Add Raynor to that list 2 times, in fact. He did it twice on the same day. He's just looking better than ever, I have to say. And you know what? Whichever way this is going to go, he has earned my respect, and he is going to be a player that, you know what, I'm always going to be mentioning from now on when people talk about the best Terrans. That you got to give Cure quite a high place in those rankings, I would say.
Well, he definitely deserves a second look. If people have been sleeping on Cure, which I'll admit, Cure, I've slept on him. And I'm a grown adult. I'm able to admit when I can be better. And you know what? I'm starting to believe. I think Cure has got himself an ideal opportunity to put himself into this series. But I think if you sleep on Cure going forward, I don't think you're giving him enough justice. He has surely made himself a mainstay, even if he doesn't win in this best of 7 in the grand finals.
Yeah, and then Maru, of course. I mean, it's a bit of a shame that he does have his shoulder injury as well. So apparently, we've heard in the interview, right, his shoulder wasn't feeling all that great. He's been ignoring it for a while, so it was getting worse, and he was putting off going to the hospital. Now it looks like he is going towards the hospital. Now he's going on multiple times a week. I think he mentioned like 3 times a week or something like that. He's going often. He's going regularly, and he says it's going better now. So overall, this may be also part of the reason why Maru now is also starting to look a little bit like his old self again, right? Why he's starting to pick up these big games also, and why he is now capable of getting himself in the finals of King of Battles here as well.
Well, it's coming off of a game number 3 here where these two players are kind of playing a little bit of a stalemate match right now. Not a whole lot happening. We now finally see that interesting jump here. We're getting a nice little drop off by Maru. The mine actually does get picked off, so that's actually great damage deflected by Cure, as Maru's going to have to walk away empty-handed.
The low corner as well. Oh, just barely doesn't get the medevac. That would have been a great start right there for Cure. Already, though, as you mentioned, a great deflection on that damage, so nothing to fret right there. We're looking at the third base timings, though, right? That is now coming up for Maru, and Cure is not quite doing it just yet. He is moving across the field. He's got himself some siege tanks and the Raven, and even a Cyclone coming across. And with that investment into the aggression, perhaps Maru will not have enough to hold his own here. We remember, of course, the game of today, also on Pillars of Quartz. Maru in the same position on the top right side. Suddenly Clem getting those siege tanks very, very close to his refinery, and ultimately being able to pick off the victory off of that. We're going to see a little bit of a repeat here. It looks like Maru a bit more on top of trying to avoid a aggressive positioning here from Cure. Sets his siege tanks a little bit further forward also.
Okay, so Maru trying to position here, wants to get at least a little bit out onto the map, if anything, to position himself into a third base. Cure was able to scout that, so he knows Maru's not going to be all in on a 2-base timing attack here. So whatever's coming across the map, Cure knows he just needs to play confidently. He needs to defend as best as he can. A couple of workers here and there from Cure for the cost of Raven energy is always a great position to try and play from. And now he just needs to deflect back at home. A couple of Ravens for Maru can be effective, especially against a low tank count of Cure. But look at this, Cure continuing to harass and make this more and more difficult, as Maru is also trying to pivot and position himself at the third base location of Cure, making it very difficult for him.
Yeah, he's going to that same location where he was maybe expecting Cure to go to as well, and decides to back off, as Cure does have a relatively safe positioning here with those siege tanks. Scans continuously being utilized here by both players as well to keep tabs on this army. One of the most important things to do in TvT. Stay aware of the army movement of your opponents. This other turret harassment is starting to pick up some kills again. And yeah, 9 kills. That's not too bad, right? But I mean, the worker count still in Maru's favor here. The upgrades, let's take a look. I don't think we've seen them just quite yet from Cure. Okay, they're starting up right now as well, as he does finish up his engineering bases. I don't know. There's no clear advantage for either of these players at the moment.
I mean, I really love Cure's positioning just because he's throwing Maru off of his groove. Maru been once onto the opposite side of the map to try and get on top of Cure's base, and he's had to go home, and now this is the second attempt. Cure's had an opportunity to get more of those tanks up and in position, and now trying his best to stay abreast of where Maru is at. Like you just said, you want to make sure you're constantly aware of where your opponent is going to posture up. And now we start to see this good engagement going down. Some great interference matrices going down onto Maru's tanks. Cure going to be able to wrap this up and hold on to that tank count, at least for now. But some great positioning by Maru is going to be able to shut that down. Unfortunately, not killing off those tanks that he once disabled. So now Maru is in a position where he is going to back up and try and hold off that fourth base transition, but he's able to trade out more effectively over his opponent. But Cure has good production. He's getting that armory down. That army count will stay in his favor, and Cure continuing to play from a lower worker count, but he feels comfortable doing so.
Yeah, it's such an interesting choice to have to make, right? Do you go for the interference? Do you go for the auto turrets? Right there, we saw Maru going for the auto turrets, and I think that was the better choice overall. And seeing that fight turn out, Cure, he was targeting the auto turrets, so maybe if he did try to then target the siege tanks instead, maybe that would have worked out a little bit better. But yeah, trying to gun down those auto turrets as they are gunning down your siege tanks. Ultimately, that's a little bit similar as the interference matrix, right? Because you're avoiding the damage on your actual army units, and at the same time, you're still dealing damage yourself. So it's an interesting choice to make, and I'm always interested in seeing what players go for. And that was a clear moment where I'm like, all right, well, maybe those auto turrets are just a little bit better when you're fighting against mostly those siege tanks. Anyway, we have more aggression coming out here for Cure. He does manage to secure himself a nice position there with the siege tanks, facilitating some damage onto the third base, trying to keep that mining of gas interfered with. Also, of course, these Marines in the main base do manage to pick off a reactor, slowing down the production ever so slightly. But yeah, ever so slightly is, of course, the way you need to do this. You can't just get everything in one go.
Well, I'm actually really surprised that Cure didn't try to force the issue at the third base as well, because all of the bio units were pulled up into the main to deal with the drop. So it was just a couple of tanks. Those Vikings still had that air superiority, and I think a combo attack of those Vikings landing plus those tanks would have caused a lot of damage into that third base. But like you said, not too much all at once, just little bites here and there, taking out a barracks, which I think is actually a big chunk of that production. Just even knocking down one barracks makes a huge difference. Getting a reactor and just slowly working away at your opponent. That's going to be the way that you keep yourself competitive in a game with a player like Maru, who is always going to be a scrappy player, regardless of where he's at in his position.
Yeah, for sure. Oh my dear lord, this is not a big fight right now. Those Marines getting on top of the siege tanks. The Marines of Cure have to evacuate, it looks like, going towards the other siege tanks that are already positioned there. Okay, the Vikings this time around will land immediately. Maru already on the ball, has those extra units coming in with the neteffects, and secures his third base location once more. Did lose a couple of those SCVs, but having that fourth base mining a lot earlier on is kind of making up for this. And now he may even be able to just shut this down entirely. Well, for a moment, I was going to see an anti-armor missile, but I think I mistook the Cyclone look on there for the anti-armor missile coming in. This is very close. This is incredibly close right now. These guys continuously trading blows back and forth and going tit for tat in that economic game at this time.
Well, for what it's worth, regardless of who wins this matchup, I already know who's already won. Us, the fans. Because this is an outstanding, I know, deep, right? Hash brown deep. And we're putting ourselves into a position where, again, these two players are just going to keep on trading into each other. Cure doing a nice job of holding down Maru from expanding out to that fifth base location. I feel like Cure is going to get into a position where he starts to get that himself. I wouldn't be surprised to see those top left or bottom right bases get utilized as well. But it's going to be a moment where Maru leaps on forward. Those tanks not quite sieged up, so they will be able to get picked off, and Maru will continue his aggression, bringing his own tanks into the mix here as... yeah, it felt like Cure was missing a lot of his army, given the army count that he has in 89. But Maru's going to keep forcing the issue here, pushing on forward. But he better be careful. These Vikings are going to come into the mix, and okay, I guess we're just going to toss away those Vikings. No big deal, I suppose. Cure didn't want those anyways.
Yeah, it looked like he was trying to set up a full flank here, and those Marines do manage to pick up a lot of siege tanks, right? So, again, making up for the fact that he did lose those Vikings. Not a great one, but ultimately does manage to equal out the score overall, I would say, but he needs to be careful. A lot of his own siege tanks now also being picked off. Trading Marines for siege tanks always going to be favorable. That's what you're trying to do here, but it looks like, again, Cure going for the aggression, and Maru has to respect it, moves backwards towards that third base, again under a lot of pressure right now, setting up shop in between his natural and the third base. Will be able to, well, it looks like get a reasonable trade, but ultimately, once again, getting cleaned up here, and the supply for Cure starts to dwindle a little bit.
This is starting to look really good for Maru as he's starting to pull ahead. And Cure unfortunately threw away a chunk of his army that he did not want to sacrifice. Now he doesn't have the Viking count that he needs. The air superiority is now gone, so these tanks are going to be able to siege up in great positions and allow Maru to stay as aggressive as he wants to be. And right now, continuing to push it down the center of the map, Cure has a little bit of high ground advantage. But once again, he's not going to be able to hold on to this very long because those Vikings are just going to push on forward and suddenly just becomes a bigger issue for him to try and deal with. So Maru will be able to force the issue here. His 3-3 is just about to finish up, and that will match up with Cure. Big stim forward here, getting on top of those tanks. The Vikings going to go to work. Those medevacs will get picked off, and that means the bio of Cure is not going to be able to stick around. And 182 to 129, Cure is sliding out of this game number 3.
Yeah, it's looking absolutely magnificent for Maru. Will he be able to break a Cure right here, right now? There's not that many siege tanks remaining. Maru trying his best to whittle his way in here. Let's see, will have to be careful. Those Marine numbers of his still relatively small, and if he doesn't have the Marines anymore protecting the siege tanks, that could become a big problem. But Cure has to back off. There's too much firepower behind those siege tanks, and the siege tanks of his not quite being able to help out against that siege tank line as they are still quite far removed. And Mapu showcasing indeed that is almost a 7,000 resources difference right there in the units lost. Cure has to tap out. GG is called. Maru takes the lead once again.
Oh, we're just going to get a good back and forth between these two, and I'm so excited. Now, Kozan, I wanted to take an opportunity to talk to you a bit, but it seems as if Maru is going to ask for a 5-minute break here. So this is going to be a good opportunity for us to try and get one of our last compilation ads out, because we have so many great sponsors that are helping us pay for this event. And we've been getting a lot of great ones too. Of course, we've got Strive and G Fuel and Matcherino, Carhartt as well. I know people keep commenting like, wow, Carhartt? Man, that's a different person. Clothing brand supporting StarCraft 2? Well, how cool is it that they want to reach out and support esports in 2020? I think that's less weird and more a cool opportunity. I'm personally waiting for the Staples endorsement here so we can all get brand new laptops and we can have like cool little iPads to show off all of the notes that we've taken of all of these different matchups. But we are going to play one of our last compilations and kind of highlight all of our different ads or sponsors, I suppose, because we've had so many great plays and so many great highlights that we want to share with you as we go through this tournament. So 2-1 for Maru here in this best of 7 series. We're going to be going to game number 4. Quick break for the players, and then we will be back with more StarCraft 2. Don't go anywhere, folks. You guys are watching the grand finals of the King of Battles International Championship right here on twitch.tv/alphaxsc2. We'll be right back right after this.
So yeah, going for it. Oh, there is another nuke. Yeah, didn't catch it. Well, it's not as important. Oh well. Interesting. I think it was trying to pressure this this Nexus here, so that the army would come. Oh no! 3 disruptors! 3 disruptors just like that! Where did they go? What in the world? Are you kidding me?
Because most of these players have probably not spent so much time on these maps just yet that the pathing is going to be weird, but Zest is just going to say, you know what, I just know you. I know you. I know that you are a cheeky little words that we can't use on live television, and we're just gonna We're just going to go with that. So Zesh should be able to bully this enough. Oh, that's actually really cute. I actually love that. That is beautiful play here. And he's just going to go back and forth. Oh, this is amazing.
What are we watching?
But you know what? I actually love this because this is...
This should be giving quite a bit of trouble for Stats right now. Force fields, they're okay, but I mean, they're not going to hold back the roaches and ravages for too long. Really do enjoy using the force fields, not all at the same time right now. Trying to buy as much time as possible. Sets up too, but ultimately this is just too much Zerg right here. Even with the shield battery overcharge, nothing much really to do, it seems, for Stats. Ooh, look out for that vial right there. There is another Immortal, though. We do have that Warp Prism micro being utilized, but... Okay, let's save the day with the Warp Prism again. Up on the high ground. You know what? It is slowly being whittled down here for the units of Solar, right? It's not that terrifying of a Zerg force anymore, but more is coming in continuously. We still need to see very, very successful micro here from Stats. Getting targeted a little bit with that Warp Prism. The Queen's helping out with that. Using a ton of Stalkers there. Going right for the Queens right now. Trying to get more of a safe space for that Warp Prism to do its thing. That would be very nice, of course. You know, Stats, you see, starting to hold this, or... It's hard to say. Okay, down goes the Queen. The Warp Prism will go uncontested now. That would have been a major deal for Solar, of course, getting that one. And right now we're seeing, yeah, Stats actually starting to hold this quite well. My dear lord, that's quite the tenacious Protoss right here. Being able to scrape the barrels, get everything that he needed, just barely in the right place.
Woo-hoo-hoo. We are back. Hope all of you got a chance to stand, stretch, grab some water, use the toilet. I think I might have done all of those in the break time here. Kozan, how about you? You look like you're getting hydrated over there.
Yeah, for sure, man. I got an entire bottle filled with water right here, so we're good. We're good to go.
Well, good, because it's been just a casual, let's see, 6-hour casting session so far. I mean, I know I certainly couldn't have done this without you, and I feel like it, especially today, like you and Hajin have just been like the glue holding me together as we run all sorts of stuff and make this as fun of an event as possible. Unfortunately, Hajin making a great point in the chat. I accidentally made her hungry earlier because we were talking about Strive, and then I did a call out ad for Strive, and in our chat she was like, "Oh, kind of want some biltong now." So my bad. Hopefully she's not too hungry.
I mean, you got to be prepared for these ones, right? TvT, it's known to go a little bit long sometimes. These guys proving that again here. I mean, to be fair though, it is one hell of a way to kind of close this tournament, and we are, of course, not quite there yet, guys. But the conclusion is coming in here. We still have 2 players remaining, and these 2 players both very, very hungry as well. Not so much perhaps for food, although that may be the case as well. But they are hungry for victory right here. They are so incredibly close to being able to achieve the championship title here for the first King of Battles, the first premier tournament hosted by Alpha X. And you know, it's going to be a blast to see either of these ones being able to take it right now.
Oh, okay.
Starting up again.
We need to get some chat participation here because this is very important. Chat, I need you to type right now. Mapu, PogChamp. Spam it. Because Mapu is amazing. He has done such an amazing job, and we are going to give him a little bit of love here as we get into game number 4. Mapu, PogChamp. I just want to see it fly. Just flying on by. Give Mapu the love he deserves here as we get in to Lightshade for game number 4. Spawning in the bottom right, our blue Terran player for Jin Air Green Wings and Team Anime. This is Maru.
His opponent in the red, he's for the Dragon Phoenix Gamers. He is, of course, the Cure.
Oh, I always love it when chat's willing to play along. Look at that. Mapu someday is going to see that love, and I hope he does because he has just been a consummate professional throughout this entire tournament. Of course, he has tons of great experience. Nobody's surprised, but it is still wonderful to have him as a part of our team and one of the unsung heroes of StarCraft 2.
You don't hear him a lot, but he's continuously behind the camera, making sure none of the action is being missed, making sure that he's ever so vigilant to show us whatever is the most important thing. He's doing such a great job with it as well. Very, very impressed ever so much by this observer man sent from the heavens themselves.
He just descends one day. Ah, you missed a baneling drop. Ah.
That's when they'll come and get him. It's when he... Nah, I don't think he will ever miss a baneling drop. It's not gonna happen, and if he does, then you know what? Everybody else will as well. Nobody will ever know about it. So, I mean, once again, on a shorter map, it is a little bit the overall thing that happens in this map pool. But on this map, we do have that third triangular base shape. It's a little bit more open, right? Jagannath kind of has that opening in a way, where there's only a slight little squeezing place where you can maybe get 2 siege tanks and then start harassing that production facility, or start mounting attacks from with your marines. You know, move in and out of your own siege tank shelling range. But ultimately, yeah, it's a little bit more doable on this map. Does that mean these players are going to get more aggressive with these timing attacks? Maybe we'll get across the map with those siege tanks a bit more quickly? We'll have to wait and see.
Well, I have to also think that there is a little bit of tactical play going into effect when you call for a pause mid-series. I mean, it's not... Maru's not asking for anything that is unreasonable, more than anything. He's just trying to take care of his injury, and it just seems as if maybe there is a little bit of a playstyle that goes into it as well. So it gives you not only a chance to physically rest, but also think about it. Okay, how do I continue advancing forward? Cure has been doing really well. What is Cure doing well right now that could potentially put me down in the series to 2-2? He's doing a good job controlling tempo, really good placement on the map and positioning. Okay, how can I boil up a strategy that can keep him on his toes? Because I think if Maru can continue to drive that wedge forward, getting into a 3-1 position would be really good for him. Cure's been playing from the downside of the series pretty much the entire day, but I think playing down from 3-1 on the grand finals might be too much for him.
Yeah, who knows though? I mean, either of these players I feel like are capable of doing eking out a decisive victory perhaps in the end. One of them maybe more so than the other, of course, as they are one map ahead already. But it's going to be quite a show nonetheless. We once again have these Banshees on the way here for Cure. Been talking about they aren't the most common thing to see, but that kind of makes them the surprise factor as well, right? Maybe that is the reason why they are going to be working. And I mean, versus TY as well. TY was very well prepared for it, I would say, and still those Banshees still finding so much value overall.
Ooh, is that Banshee gonna sneak by? Oh, it's gonna juke backwards. Maru just caught wind of it, and now it's like, wait, hold on. Where was that? I swear I saw a Banshee. I did. Yeah, that Banshee is gonna sneak out the top side, but that should keep Maru actually mostly at home here. Now he has to try and deal with that Banshee because he doesn't want to worry about losing 3 or 4 of his workers, or even his tank for that matter.
Yeah, for sure. And we all know that Cure is very much capable of getting that value. Look at this, already picking off those Marines. And no, those Marines are very valuable as well, as that that kind of facilitates a capability of moving out on the map, right? If you don't have those Marine numbers, you can send your siege tanks out, but ultimately they won't stay alive for very long because you don't have that meat shield in front of it that is required to keep the lone Marines backwards. And ultimately, I mean, that is where Cure gets that value. And now again, already anticipating, all right, well, I got some stuff, now I gotta move away with this Banshee all the way to the top right side, safeguards it, ready to gain more value out of that at some later point in time.
Look at the production on the tab right here. Both players getting those 2 barracks set up. Cure going into that Viking count once again, and Cure has been able to make more happen with his Vikings comparatively to, I guess, either TY or Clem today for that matter. So I think it'll be interesting to see how many Ravens that Maru wants to go into. It feels like in this series he hasn't invested as heavily, even though it's more than, I'd say probably normal. Not just... we're not seeing mass Ravens, all things considered, as we go forward, but it seems as if Cure feels okay trying to deal with this. So getting on top of all of those auto turrets is proving to be a bit of a tall task. Cure having to sacrifice so many of his workers as a result of it. And now there's 2 tanks left behind, 1 tank for Cure able to help hold down the Bastion. That Banshee was going to try and get in on top of this, but a good Cyclone prepared back at home is going to be able to zone that out. And now suddenly Cure in a rough spot here in game number 4.
Yeah, that was such a heavy commitment there for Cure, trying to clean this up, and then he doesn't. And now this third base still under pressure, still in a position where it won't be able to mine it super efficiently, having to send SCVs to repair this continuously. Not the best case scenario right now for Cure here. As Maru, look at the mining that's happening on this third base right now on the minimap. You can clearly see that is blinking like a Christmas tree right now. And up the command center goes there now. Oh my dear lord, deciding whether or not he wants to commit here as well with those SCVs, it looks like. Lone Marines.
Hey guys, there's tanks here. Oh.
Guys, you won't believe what I'm seeing. Oh god, they're shooting me.
Work. Oh, well, that was kind of a dire moment there for Cure. I mean, he needed to hang on to that third base. Unfortunately, he did, but Maru's put himself in a really nice position. That tank count is looking really healthy. Maru's going to try rotating here. Oh, Cure, you can't let Maru get sieged up on the high ground here. He's got to be very careful, but it seems as if Maru's going to swing around way far to the left, and now both players going to try and pass each other like 2 ships in the night. Cure going to get out onto the map.
Oh, dear lord. This could become a base trade situation very, very quickly, and Maru getting there a little bit earlier on. Cure, I mean, if he decides to move backwards right now, it's going to be absolutely abysmal. He has to commit. He's going forward. Maru already starting off here with the natural base. That goes down very quickly. What kind of defense can Maru set up at his home front? sending the SCVs in very quickly, trying to gather up any type of Marine that he can find to go into the main base. Maru, how is he going to continue this onwards? Will decide to go for the third base first and foremost, and that means Kure will get on top of the production. And I'm not quite sure what the situation is in the main base of Kure, but he's going to have more time to mount some sort of a defense. Maru here, even though he started his attack earlier, it looks like he may be taking the worst trade here, and now he's going to move backwards. He scanned the main base, didn't like what he saw, and has to move backwards to try and deal with this attack right here. He did clean up both of those command centers, so he manages to safeguard both. Well, I mean, he's losing so many SCVs right now. It's looking pretty darn good for Kure. I'm very surprised that Maru went for the third base instead of going for that main base in the production facilities, of course, as we're seeing now how incredibly well that is working out for Kure. The siege tanks dealing with the Marines as they come up one by one on top of that ramp, and more attacking forces coming down the woodworks here for Kure.
Oh, I'm really
going to go down.
But I'm still really worried for Kure right now. Yes, Maru's lost all of his economy, but Kure has to keep Maru pinned on his side of the map because that army count is almost dead even, 50 to 47, and there's a ton of tanks for Maru. So if Maru can get over to the other side of the map and get some good sieges up, maybe say on the top right-hand side of Kure's main base, Maru could easily bring this back. But it's kind of on a razor's edge as it sits right now. This is kind of looking a little dicey for both of our players. I don't think Kure is quite out of this just yet. He has to hold Maru back.
We'll have to wait and see. I mean, the bases here having to be recreated for Kure. That is, of course, slowing him down quite a bit. Ultimately, but Maru has so much catching up to do. It looks like he is still mining favorably, funnily enough. But that is because, of course, Kure is not capable of fully saturating multiple bases. He needs to long distance mine to get maximum efficiency up until he has those extra command centers. And at the same time, of course, he needs to keep Maru in check. As you mentioned, the siege tank count still looking pretty healthy for Maru. And as long as you have siege tanks, you have a way of coming back in this matchup. But I don't know if he has a siege tank advantage here. It looks like the siege tank count for Kure back at home also not looking all too horrendous, right? Looking pretty okay for considering what just happened.
Well, and both of these players are choosing to just lay back and go, okay, I got to lick my wounds a little bit to try and get this economy back up and running. Kure right now operating on 2 bases where Maru has 3. Maru's going to try and get a little bit more damage done economically to try and slow down his opponent even further, although right now he has the economic advantage as it sits. Oh man, getting on top of more here. How does he manage to get that done? 5 more of those workers going down. And yeah, this is going to start compounding very, very quickly for Maru, who didn't lose a single command center in that engagement, has now repopulated all 3 of his mineral lines, and Kure is still very exposed. His 2 bases are further out. That's a good pick off on that medevac, but Kure's going to need way more than that if he wants to get back in.
Another very important thing to note here is that Kure, he had to recreate his armory. Those +2/+2 upgrades right now coming in for Maru relatively shortly. It's going to take a long time here for Kure, it looks like, before those are going to be anywhere near equal again. And when you are on a smaller army count overall, those upgrades, they become so much more important overall. And let's wait and see how this is going to be working out right now. There is quite a big force moving in here. Quick scout though for Maru will be able to set up shop in this 3rd base location. That's been serving him very, very well. He's been able to get back on top on the work account overall. Those 3 command centers, even getting a 4th right now. Anti-armor missile for both these players being able to hit. Maru trying to split up, but kind of sacrificing some of his Marines there after the missile managed to hit right now.
Well, right.
There's +3/+3 at the same time as +2/+2 for Cure.
Yeah, I was gonna say it's a big mismatch on those upgrades right now, where Maru has the advantage on the extra production, he has the extra economy, and now he has the upgrade advantage, also getting it +1 for all of his tanks. So those tanks are gonna hit extra hard against Marines that already have an armor disadvantage against his opponents. So Maru should be able to shove on forward here. Just big stim forward with these Marines. Gonna pick off every single tank in that clump. Only one tank towards the back, and the Marines are nowhere to be found.
I don't know. I'm not quite certain where the Marines were for Cure. He left those siege tanks there unprotected. Now it's 2 siege tanks versus 8, and there's an air dominance as well available for Maru. It is quite a significant lead, not just in upgrades, but in army supply also. And if you don't have those siege tanks, then what real chance do you have? You need to get on top of those siege tanks from Maru as soon as they are unsieged. Does get a good anti-armor missile. Maybe that is going to be enough, but if he just walks in with all those Marines from one angle, that is never going to work out in favor for Cure here. Maru, look at that, already mining off of the 4th base as well. It looks like Maru will just be able to force his way forwards and get himself into this 3rd base. The SCVs are being called, coming right into action here. Cure knows he has to win this one, but there's no way of winning it. GG. Maru gains a further advantage in this match.
This is what I was afraid of for Cure. Falling down 1-3. Maru on match point here to be crowned the king of battles in our tournament. And I mean, he's got that injury, but you know, he's not showing it right now. Playing with some really good tactics, some very good micros, staying ahead of an opponent like Cure, who still has it within him to pull this back. We've seen Cure come back from the brink multiple times in this tournament. Does he have enough energy at 4:30 in the morning to do it one more time?
It was very impressive, wasn't it? My dear lord, having that opponent's army on top of your productions, and then thinking to yourself, you know what I should do? I should not try to break his main base. I should just go back. I should just move back my entire force and try to deal with this army that is sitting on top of my production, and still managing to make it work out into his favor, even though he had half or even less than half the work account of Cure right there. Just casually floating those command centers back to their original place, being like, all right, business as usual, guys. Let's continue onwards, and we're going to be winning this one because I am Maru. This is what I do. It's, yeah.
Well, we are approaching a breaking point here for Cure, who once again is on his final tournament life. He needs to start pulling together some wins. He's going to have to do it here on Romanticide. Not an uncommon feat for him, as this is, I believe, where he started to pull back his series against TY just a few short hours ago.
Yeah, it is remarkable how quick Maru is overall. And I was surprised, like it felt like I just kind of blunk, and suddenly Maru just managed to make up for 30-something work. He's like, all right, back on top of things again. Anyway, I'm starting to get worried here for Cure. The train, the hype train for him is slowing down a little bit here, it seems. But then again, we felt the same way when he was up against TY. Now he's up against this blue fella in the top left side from the generic Green Wings. He is nobody else but Maru.
Spawning in the bottom right of Romanticide LE on his final tournament life. Needs your energy from Dragon Phoenix Gaming. This is Cure.
Okay, well then, Maru. Just one more victory. One more win. Is he gonna do it? He's not proxying at all. Looks like he's just gonna play the regular game, and that regular game has been serving him very, very well. He's been playing the macro, he's been going for those third bases, and this is what has been bringing him victory. Now, of course, I believe this is also the map where we suddenly saw Cure mounting or starting the comeback versus TY, wasn't it? Where he went in with those Hellions, the Banshee harassment, and then suddenly even though I thought like, well, you know, he's not getting a lot done here overall, but ultimately just TY moving across the field, not quite going for the macro anymore, kind of at wit's end, perhaps feeling like he lost a lot of mining time, lost a lot of workers, and Cure being able to take it. Ultimately, I'm still wondering what would have happened if TY did continue onwards with that one. What would have happened if he did manage to still keep playing? Because we can see this other Terran, Maru, right here. He's been in a couple of situations that didn't feel all that great either, but he's been able to make it come back in the match itself, in those games.
Well, a lot of people commenting that we didn't see any proxies, and I want to be clear that I only called there was going to be a proxy on match point if it was 3-3 against these two. And Maru is not going to... I don't think he's going to proxy against a player like Cure unless his back is truly against the wall. And even then, I don't know that he'll actually pull through with that, because there's a lot of money on the line. I mean, it's a $3,000 difference between first and second place right now. It's a lot of money to wager in on a potential 5-minute game, Kozan.
Yep, for sure, Ben. And are you willing to make that bet? Are you willing to try your luck? If you get scouted, it could very well end very quickly. If you don't get scouted, I mean, well, could end very quickly as well, but then in your favor. It can be a very tough call to make, but I mean, overall, these Terran plays have been getting better and better against these types of proxy plays, I do feel like, right? I mean, the response is quite well planned out, and there's not that many question marks about which steps you have to make to defend against that type of stuff. Perhaps more so a little bit of a build order win can turn in the favor here if you do try to make the aggression happen, right? Maybe going for a double refinery opening, delaying your command center a little bit further than you would plan originally, and then go for something like more siege tank, more Raven at the beginning, and then claim territory that way with a bit more of a beefy force instead of just eking out a bit of cheese with the Reapers or something like that.
It's true, and both of the players have shown that they can control those types of large, beefy armies and really just trade blows as quickly and as deadly as they can out on the middle of the map. But both players very concerned about the other one trying to come across early, because both of them drop a mine in a quick, advantageous location here and doing their absolute best to try and protect their main bases from getting any extra scouting off. Maru not going to be able to see anything here. Oh, I guess that Reaper's just going to live on the low ground now. And,
Yeah, he's fine.
and just doing what they can to stay abreast of what's happening here in the early game. But both of these players have tried to keep it rather standard. Nothing too scary, nothing too spooky one way or the other, despite being in the middle spooky month. We're just going to see more and more of this standard play coming out of both of our players. Now, Cure is going to jump out to that quick third base. Maru has yet to throw that down himself.
Yeah, going for two base aggression. Again, we've not been able to see it work out all too much. Okay, here he goes. Now going to make it on location, but most likely still will try to get some movement across the map here. I would anticipate, but you know, overall, he doesn't have a significant advantage here at all in the work or the army count, so it's hard to call. It's not too far apart, right? It's not a distance that Maru doesn't just close by being Maru for some reason, and I think he should be okay still here. Upgrades though, it needs to stay on top of that as well. Cure perhaps being a little bit more greedy, grabbing his command center quicker, grabbing those engineering base a little bit quicker.
Yeah, and this is where Maru has jumped ahead in previous games, just getting that slight upgrade advantage by throwing down those engineering bays. So immediately those finish, and his +1 infantry weapons coming out, and the infantry armor, as well as his stim pack that's going to be finishing up here soon. So Cure is going to be trying to muscle in and getting himself a better position in this game. Cure's going to get out to that third base and hopefully try to start securing a little bit of an economic advantage, but Maru's not going to be far behind him.
No, he will not be far behind at all. You're completely correct there. And we've mentioned it a couple of times, right? If you're behind as Maru, it's pretty much equal. If it's equal, you're ahead. And we've seen this time and time again, where Maru has been able to make these either comebacks happen. Not just versus, not just today, guys. Not just versus Clem, not just versus Pure. He's been able to do it versus Innovation as well. I mean, he has truly proven himself in this matchup. The TvT seems to very much favor him at the moment. He seems to have a good read on this Cure. He may be the king of versus the Zergs, but unfortunately, you know, the biggest Zerg opponents, he already kicked out of the tournament, so they weren't allowed to participate here in the playoffs ultimately. But you know what? Now he is up against all these Terran behemoths, and you know, yeah. Another thing that you have to wonder, right? What would have happened if Kjør didn't run into Raynor and Serral earlier on? What could have happened? What if we had another rematch between Serral and Maru? Because Maru, he went down against Serral, right? They went all the way to the final match, and Maru did lose in the end. Whereas Kjør, 3-0. 3-0. Clean sweep. This is the Finnish Phenom.
Oh. And that doesn't happen very often against a player like Serral. Now, I was going to make a comment about Kjør, because Kjør is going to try and get in on the top side here with a nice little drop, but unfortunately gets caught out and actually is going to get intercepted as well. Oh, man. How did Maru know that that was there? Must have just had a second instinct as those sensor towers shut down Kjør's drop just as it was showing up at this point. So now we see a Kjør who, going into his normal affair that we've seen him do today, playing behind in workers but ahead in army, needs to try and start getting a little bit of that damage dealt to his opponents, but isn't quite finding ways to get in because Maru, doing his diligence, he's sieging up his tanks in good positions, he's covering all of the different angles, not allowing Kjør to get on top of him. But now we're going to start seeing our Red Terran players start to engage on multiple fronts. It's going to be a matter of whether or not he can get any damage done.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, this has been the position Kjør likes to get himself in, it looks like, right? Just being able to pressure two fronts and try to see where Maru is weakest. Try to force your opponents to allocate the forces in the correct way and respond to your aggression here. But it looks like Maru has been able to set up very, very comfortably here. Just gonna go float over that fourth base towards the fourth base location as he takes it on the low ground there. So it is going to be the base there in the open for both these players. A little bit surprised by it, but I suppose it's one of the bases where you're going to be able to mount offenses from. I don't think the high ground base right there is the worst one to take either. You can set up a nice siege tank front right there, and then ultimately it's going to become a lot easier to defend against the, well, grab the other base, right? That is just above it or below it, depending on the way on the map you're looking.
I don't know how I feel about Kjør's positioning right now. He is desperately trying to find a way in, but he wants to get in onto that right side of Maru's third base, where obviously, like, yeah, it's a good call because it's an orbital command, so there's going to be less there to try and force you back. But I just don't think with all of the sensor towers that he's going to be able to get a good position without Maru just swinging on in and countering it. So now it's a bit of a stalemate in terms of Maru can't really engage into Kjør yet. Kjør can't really engage into Maru. We're going to see a lot of these little spats back and forth, but ultimately it's a similar shape army, but Kjør has the advantage right now, and I feel like he's going to miss an opportunity to be able to jump on top of a bioforce of Maru that's behind in upgrades. And that's going to quickly change here as Maru also getting that +1 tank. So now they're going to be dead even, not only in composition, but in upgrade count.
Yeah, and once more, we're really setting up here for the later parts of this game. 3 command centers going down at the same time here for Kjør. It's very important to not run out of energy with those scans. And once more, it's absolute scan fiesta. Look at the mini-map as well. All those sensor towers. The radar is heavy right now. That's the the mini-map. is going to be very red for both these players continuously throughout the game. But that's a good thing, right? It's a good thing. They need to stay wary of the movements of their opponents. Oh, that was close. Siege tanks getting ready to shoot, not quite getting the shots they want. Couple of units from Maru deciding to take the long route around, getting a bit punished there by the siege tank firing as well.
Well, Maru's going to try and get out and secure another base, and we're slowly marching towards these players splitting the map right down the center, and we might be in for another long game, but I feel like this leans into Maru's favor because right now we're moving at the speed that Maru wants to move, and it feels like Cure, I mean, just even watching the mini-map, is constantly trying to reposition, like, where can I get in? Where can I find an opening? How can I pull this apart? And Cure's not able to get in there, so Maru is now going to try and push on forward here. It feels like this is his moment to try and strike. This one mine should be able to find a good amount of scouting information, so now he knows that this is coming, and it's going to have to be an evacuated base, but that base is going to get picked off.
Yeah, immediately shut down. A great pick-off there by Maru. Putting himself slightly ahead in the economy here. It's not absolutely massive as both players are already, of course, on a 200 supply. Means that Maru will be able to get himself a bit of a bigger bank at the moment, which already is kind of the case, right? But except for the gas count, actually. Well, no, it's actually going up relatively equally. I guess it's because Maru is also building 4 commands, and it's actually a lot of missile turrets also going down.
Look at all the upgrades.
What he does.
Oh, that's a huge anti-armor missile going down on both armies. So this is a good engagement here. But Maru's going to be able to come out the winner here. His bio going to be able to fight just a little bit stronger. A couple of tanks in the backside will be able to get on top of the rest of his bio. But Maru's just going to shove on forward, and now this base is open and exposed. He's going to have to evacuate it if Cure doesn't want to lose all of those workers. And he will be able to pull back, but not a good engagement. He does not want to lose yet another command center.
Oh dear Lord, there were so many of the siege tanks from Pure going down right there. That was an absolutely devastating blow, Rushy. I'm not quite sure. Right, he doesn't have that many remaining anymore. Once again, the Raven control for Maru there reigns supreme, being able to interference matrix so many of those siege tanks. The Vikings not quite ready for Cure to intercept them. The Marines weren't ready either to stop those Ravens from getting close on top of those siege tanks. And now all of a sudden, it's not just another base that gets denied. It's a lot of the army supply from Cure here that did fall down. And I mean, Maru got himself such a great position here now on this high ground as Cure is just trying to keep Maru away as he's trying to recuperate those losses, as he's trying to reclaim that supply. He will try to take the top right side right now with these bases, but was that too much of a blow to take? It's getting close right now, man.
Well, it's starting to go from bad to worse here for Cure as Maru is continuing to force the issue, trying to push on forward. Some good scans will be able to stay on top of the Marines as they do try to pick away yet another command center. And it's a small amount of Liberators also trying to keep Maru at bay. Both banks look relatively similar. That worker count, the army count, relatively similar. Somehow, some way, Cure is continuing to keep himself in this game, and largely because he's got the advanced ballistics on those Liberators. He's able to keep those tanks from being able to position exactly where they want to. I want to know what the Raven count is, though. Maru continues to add Ravens back into his mix here, but I don't know how many he has, and it's difficult at times to try and differentiate all of the different flying units. But it's got to be getting close to 10, that sweet spot where he has kind of lived in these previous games.
Yeah, it's looking pretty darn great again there for Maru. Will he try to swing around here? That could be quite a decisive move as well. Looks like he will. The siege tanks for Cure not quite ready in the position just yet. It seems like it's still a bit of a walk around this little bit of a weird curvature. Okay, the siege tanks instead for Cure will siege up on the high ground right now as Maru is trying to take this fight. I'm not quite sure if it's going into his favor though. Most of those Ravens do fall and Maru has to back out of here. It wasn't a great move there, but I mean, immediately Maru spiking back up on that production here. 2 siege tanks, 4 Ravens continue to be produced. A lot of Marines as well, as we're seeing Cure not quite being able to keep up with that production on the same level.
And that was not an overall great engagement by Maru. He loses a lot of those Ravens. It did come at the cost of 11 workers for Cure, but again, Cure's okay playing with that worker disadvantage. He's shown this time and time again. So now Cure's going to be able to add more army composition in. He's getting more of these Liberators. I actually kind of like this play in large amounts. Those Liberators could do a lot of AoE damage against the air army of Cure, but right now going to be using them to hold down the ground forces of Maru. Maru going to try and get on top of all of those, but it's just too much. Cure has some good reinforcing bio, and it's going to be pushing further and further forward here. Maru needs to be careful. He does not want to lose a push here, but Cure almost overextending just a little bit as well.
Oh, this is just nail biting right now, Rushy. It's on a nice edge, truly. Maru trying to keep the offensive here, trying to maintain the positioning and maintain the focus of Cure on this location precisely with those missile turrets, with the siege tanks continuously staying in that position. But actually, it looks like he's gonna try his luck on the other side, as this allows Cure to perhaps very quickly get on top of the other bases right here from Maru. Most of his mining is on the left side. It looks like no sir. Cure will try to retaliate here with the push coming on the right side. I'm not quite so certain he's going to get here in time, though. Those Liberators have quite a bit of work ahead of them. Once again, it's this weird scenario, right, where we have these Ravens versus the Liberators.
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about this for Maru or Cure right now. It's so hard to see if there's any clear advantage, because it feels like just the moment one of them gets a pretty decent trade, the next engagement, it goes the other way, and we just keep swinging back and forth. This is such a pendulum-style matchup here, as we now see, once again, a big push forward here, and Maru getting the better trade end of this trade deal, but where's the air army of Maru? It's still trying to come on in, but look at this Liberator getting a little bit of work done as well. Again, it is just tit for tat against these two. Cure is not going to go down easily. If he is going to exit 4-1, he is going to do it fighting to the bitter end.
Resources lost tab. I've been trying to keep tabs on the overall resources lost. It's going up so equally right now. Okay, the Liberator will finally be able to get taken care of, and well, at the same time, Maru also taking out another base there on the right side, or at least forcing the cancel. And now Cure, he is, I don't know, it's feeling like he's maybe a little bit surrounded. Income again, these spells from the Ravens. They have been able to make a lot of plays here happen for Maru. Is this the moment in time? The Marines coming in, the siege tanks are gone, the planetary fortress is all that stands. Is this the moment? Maru, will he become the king of battles? This base again getting evacuated. The supplies not looking all that great right now, Rushy.
Oh, and there it is. GG is called, and your king of battles with a 4-1 victory. Maru taking the crown. Well played.